Can you allow yourself to just sit in the joy? Can you allow yourself to just sit in joy, to sit in happiness and not think, well, what's wrong? I should be doing some things. Day 5. I'm trying to do this video so nicely from in bed.
What?
And I have
Why?
2 people.
2 people is right. He don't like it either.
Can you see Murphy?
Murph, come here.
Murphy.
And there's a bra
Murphy.
apparently on the bed too. Is that all part
bra?
of the plan?
Murphy.
What?
Murphy, say
Murph.
hello.
He's busy
Murph.
watching the boy
Murph.
out there in the hot tub.
Well, you know, day 5, I'm trying to do this very inspiring, inspirational sharing from my day 5 of my day.
Well, maybe you should tell everybody the arguments that we had tonight. What was the first argument? These are all very serious arguments that we've been having. It really may affect our relationship, so we're going to come clean. First off, the car that we've had.
Well, these videos are about being
hang
real,
on a
so.
second. For the first argument was about a car that we've had for 2 years, whether it's front wheel drive or rear wheel drive, and I'm the one who's driven every single mile that this car has been driven, 23,000 miles. Well, she drove, to be fair, about 5 of those miles, but out of those, I think I would know. And I said, it's of course rear wheel drive, and she says, no, it's not. It's front. So of course we had to do the Google search, and of course, again, I was correct because I'm knowledgeable. But this one.
Most cars are front wheel drive.
So let's hear the comments.
Most cars are front wheel drive.
They are not. Maybe the new, but on the road,
most
they're
cars.
not. On the road,
we have a new
guaranteed.
car. So most cars are front wheel drive.
No, they're not. So I think we should hear in the comments below. See this here, this is the show. This is the show. This is what a show would be. Right here. Us talking about front wheel cars and having an argument. What was the other argument that we had?
We don't ever argue or fight, actually. You can ask everybody that knows us.
Well, that might be new. That may be new. We may start. We may just start
now
having fights and arguments.
Yeah. There was no other one. I'm usually right.
Oh my God. Every time you're wrong. There's not even a close argument.
Not every time. No.
Honey.
You just focus on the times that I'm wrong.
Because it's all the time.
No, honey. It's
honey.
Not.
It's
honey.
5%. I'll give you 5% rightage, and that is a gift.
It's not true.
That's a gift by 6%.
Just so you guys know out there,
whatever,
listening to this nonsense, it's not true. I've been hijacked.
I'm sorry that you have to be a party to all this.
I think this is day 5. I keep saying every day, I think this is day something. I think this is day something. This could be day 6. Let me think.
Oh, this
Friday,
is the best.
Saturday,
look at this.
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Day 6. I think this is day 6. See how much I can't even talk to you guys because he needs to have
honey sauce. To get that honey sauce on me. I don't like the way it tastes with my chicken wings.
I mean, come on.
Taste the best.
This is what our world has come to. This is what everybody needs to sing to bring themselves into a new world.
This is what I'm going to say about today, day 6. I've had an amazing day. I just have to say, a day in the life of M. Hollis is never boring.
You're welcome. You're very welcome.
Never, ever, ever boring.
You're very welcome, honey.
I woke up with a lot of fear around a certain situation and lots of thoughts of fear, and I went into a meditation by Dr. Joe Dispenza called The Courageous Heart, and wow, did it open my heart and reconnected me. And then from there, it was just magic that unfolded. And then we had our regular group mentorship call that we lead, Scott and I lead for our group mentorship programs, Wednesdays and Thursdays. And that was just out of this world, beyond amazing. And then we had a conversation with a friend of ours that was just down in Rhythmia in Costa Rica, experiencing ayahuasca, and it was just such a profound connection conversation. Just amazing conversation. And then we went out to dinner, Scott and Isaiah and I, and we end up getting a waitress that is from Maui, that her sister is literally arriving to her house tonight from Maui.
Lahaina. That they are going to get jobs and just try to recreate a life. And she shared with us so many things, and it was just such a heartwarming conversation. I mean, Ella J, Georgia, which is this tiny little town that we just happen to have a waitress that's from Maui. Her sister's leaving her town. Everything is destroyed. Her sister's, a whole world is destroyed. And now she's restarting it in Ella J, Georgia. And then we had to get in the car, and I had to hear his nonsense about rear-wheel drive cars. It wasn't nonsense. It was truth, honey.
Anyway, the message for me today is, because maybe if some of you can resonate, I don't know. But for me, my ultimate letting go is of the doing, the productivity, the don't be lazy. You should be doing every moment of every day. And that can be really hard for me to shut off. And more and more I'm seeing everywhere that this new earth, this golden age, this new world that's being created is in balance. It's not stuck in the masculine that's do productivity that we've had since the industrial age. It's balance, and it's waking up at 8. Oh my God, waking up at 8 and
8
having your coffee.
Waking up at 9, 3.
And you know, not starting work till 10, and then working for a couple hours, and then taking a break, and then working again. And like, there's so that side of me that's like, oh, that's so lazy. That's what I'm having to learn, to just turn down the dial on that. And because when we do that, we're present and we enjoy every minute. Like, I got to enjoy every conversation today, and before it would be really hard for me to do that because I'd be thinking this is wasting time. I'm wasting time having these conversations when I could be doing something productive. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, to have the conversations I'm having every day with people that are just, you know, ultimately just desire to be better versions of themselves and to be a better person on this planet Earth. Like, what more could you want in life than that, than to be surrounded by that kind of energy and those kind of people, and to shut off the needing to be productive to just being in your heart. And as one of the women on our calls today said, sitting in the joy, just as much as you have to sit in the shit, sitting in the joy as well. So that's the message for today is, can you allow yourself to just sit in the joy? Can you allow yourself to just sit in joy, to sit in happiness, and not think, well, what's wrong? I should be doing something, and just go, no, I'm just gonna sit and be happy. And ultimately, that's what we're talking about after talking to that waitress that's from Maui, that is now displaced, as many of them are, that got one-way tickets here to the U.S. And ultimately, what we said was, the Maui culture, which is so heart-centered, is now coming to the U.S. I mean, they're part of the U.S., obviously, but the mainland. And they're bringing that heart-centered, relaxing, no rush. That's the Hawaiian culture. They're in no rush. They are in no rush to do anything. They're just present, and they're happy, and they're joyful, and they're in their hearts. And that's what they're bringing here. And that's what I know for sure I need more of. And I think we all need more of. So for day 6, that's the message for today, is to just be in your heart, to be in the joy, to not rush everywhere, to just be present, because that's where the magic happens. So there you go. Day 6.
Day 6.
Hi, it is day 7, and I really have started to feel like I've created a relationship with you out there who's ever watching this right now, after 7 days of continuously showing up and staring at this little black hole in my phone, but also knowing I'm communicating to hundreds, thousands, perhaps potentially millions of people, perhaps at some point and time in some section of space and time that you're watching this, receiving this when I'm speaking it to you. So I'm happy about that, because that was one of my intentions in doing these 30-day video diaries, is really to feel like I am authentic, really, really, really authentic. Like I'm not getting on this camera trying to be somebody I'm not, or trying to say things that aren't real, or trying to show up in a certain way, because that's kind of been the journey that I have been on the last couple years in being a, I guess you could call, a spiritual coach, personal development coach, really for the last 4 years. But I think really in the last 2 years, the whirlwind of the online coaching industry sucked me in. I got really sucked into that world, which I plan on doing another video on, actually a separate video in and of itself, because I have so much to share just from my own personal perspective and journey. And I think that when I create that video, I think that a lot of people are gonna relate and resonate. So it's important to me that I share things not because I think my perspective's right, not because I'm in a place of judgment of what other people are doing. I simply am sharing my experiences, my perspectives, my light, in honor of potentially resonating with somebody else who's on the same frequency that this video lands on, and they can relate and they can not feel alone, and it can spark some sort of remembrance in them, some sort of light in them. That's all I can hope to do with these. So I will be creating another video of that. That's not what I wanted to do here on day 7. I'm on day 7 of this, and again, 7 days in, I'm feeling so much more just connected, I guess. Even though I don't know who the hell I'm talking to, I feel more connected to you for some reason. And so I wanted to share, all these videos are about sharing tools that have worked for me. I want to contribute light, more light into this 3-dimensional space, more light into myself, and therefore obviously more light into the world. And for me, doing that means sharing my own personal experiences. How else more can we be ignited or inspired unless it's coming from our own personal trials and tribulations and learnings and figuring out what works and what doesn't. And again, everything I share, the tools that I share that I use, they're not for everybody. They don't work for everybody. They work for the individual that's on the same radio station as me, that's on the same frequency as me. Just as I learn and am inspired and grow from people that I find that are on the same frequency as me, that's just same channel as me, and I can pull something from that and feel it resonate in my body and turn my light on a little bit more. So what I wanted to share today was an experience this morning that I think will be helpful to some people that may be experiencing the same thing. So we just announced our first Breath retreat, ketamine assisted breathwork retreat, that we will be facilitating in November. I've facilitated other workshops before, breathwork workshops, things like that, online and in person. And so this isn't the first time I've facilitated retreats, but this is a totally new direction for us. Not totally new, it's still incorporating breath work, and we're still incorporating a lot of the exercises that we've done in our previous workshops that have seemed to be really impactful, but we're adding a new thing to it, which is obviously the ketamine. We're working with a team this time. We rented out an entire location, and so there was a lot of unfolding that had to happen. So there's a lot of energy associated with putting this out into the world. Sort of like, I suppose it feels like writers or like songwriters or anything like that, any creative person that creates something and then they actually have to put it out into the world. It's sort of this really tight rope between anxiousness and excitement, because you're putting something out, and how will it be received? And so I've been walking that tightrope between anxiousness and excitement the last couple of days since we put it out into the world. But what I discovered this morning was actually the anxiousness that I was feeling. So not the excitement. The excitement is amazing. However, the anxiousness can tend to take over. So if I'm walking this tightrope between anxiousness and excitement, it's like I keep falling over on the side of anxiousness. I'm not walking that tightrope very elegantly or gracefully. And so as I keep falling over to the side of anxiousness, and knowing, you know, I don't want to have that energy associated with this retreat, because I know it's something that it has a consciousness of its own. It's unfolding just as it has from the beginning on its own, and it wants to be put out into the world. And if I try to get in the way of that, then it inhibits its ability to reach the people it's supposed to reach. And so I've really been working with, you know, this feeling of anxiousness. And so as I was sitting out on the patio this morning, drinking my coffee and just tuning in, opening my focus and just tuning into the trees and digging underneath, which is a oracle card I've been pulling. The message has been that a lot, like getting underneath the surface, not just the surface level of what seems to be the problem, but going deeper and deeper and deeper. And so I knew that, okay, it wasn't just this, so I had to go through my process that I go through, which is just sitting and asking, okay, what's underneath it? What's underneath it? What's underneath it? What is this anxiousness leading to? It's not just anxiousness, there's something underneath it. And a lot of times I think we can do that. Something will happen in our life, or we're scared of something, we're fearful of something happening or something not happening. Excuse me. And when we're in that fear of something happening or not happening, it appears on the surface level to just be anxiousness about something. But what we can do is dig deeper and go underneath it. And that's what I did this morning. And Scott came out, and I was sort of sharing with him what I finally realized as I started just contemplation, right? So contemplation is just sitting there and asking more questions, and just getting quieter and quieter and going deeper inside and deeper inside and deeper inside, and asking, where is this anxiousness coming from? And I realized a lot of it was making sure that, you know, Scott was okay with whatever happened, and wanting it to fill up so that he would be okay. And then as I went deeper than that, it was like one layer deeper, but then as I went deeper than that, and I'm sort of talking him through this, I look at the whole length of my life and the different situations in my life, and I look at all of these times that I have constantly been worried about making sure everybody else is okay, that everybody feels good, is having a good time. And here's the crazy thing that I think so many people of you can relate to, that when we grow up in a household, so I love my dad. We have the most amazing relationship now. I know he was, you know, he's such a great dad, and I've worked through a lot of stuff that I had held on to from my childhood, and, you know, we've talked a lot about it, and we're just in such a great place. However, I knew, and he knew, that growing up with him, he had an extremely bad temper and would yell a lot. And when you are small and you are around somebody like that, then you feel like you're walking on eggshells all the time. And what starts to develop is this need to make sure that everyone's okay, so that that outburst doesn't happen. And so let me do whatever I can to make sure no outbursts happen. And so this has played out my entire life, of the double-edged sword, which is I want to make sure everyone is okay, which, you know, some people would say makes you a caring person, right? When you try to make sure that everybody around you is okay, and you're feeling that anxiousness because you want to do anything you can to make sure that everyone's okay, it's a double-edged sword. Because here's the thing, it is what I realized this morning is a form of control. It's you trying to control other people's experiences, other people's emotions, other people's reactions, instead of letting go of control and knowing that they have their own soul, their own higher self, that is meant to have the experience and the growth and the transformations that they're meant to have, without you trying to control it. And so, you know, in a way, I realized that it was my greatest strength and my Achilles heel, that I care so much and want to make sure people are okay. And yet, as I'm doing that, it is a form of control, trying to make sure that they are okay, instead of letting go of control and allowing whatever process they need to go through to happen. I really became acutely aware of this when we came back from our ketamine retreat a couple months ago. And Scott was doing a journey, and I was sort of, holding space for him to do so. And so part of that role is the music, and making sure that he has a playlist playing so that the journey can be, you know, a really amazing transformational experience. And the music has such a profound impact on your journeys. So I played the music, and it was shortly into it that all of a sudden the music stopped. And because I had just came back from retreat, I know how when you're in a ketamine journey that everything is really sensitive. So if a loud noise happens or something shifts, it can alter your experience profoundly. And so the music stopped playing, and I started freaking out and panicking, like, oh my God, he's going to have a bad experience. Oh my God, what's going to happen? And all of a sudden, like, I was trying to do everything. I was hitting play. It just wouldn't play. Like, it was like no matter what I did, then it would play for a second, then it stopped. It was like no matter what I did, it wouldn't fix the music. And of course, then that anxiousness of, oh my God, I got to take care of it because he's going to have this bad experience, and, you know, this complete panic and anxiousness. And all of a sudden, because the ketamine had unlocked in me a connection to my higher self, and I was more open and aware to messages that needed to come through, all of a sudden a voice said, this doesn't have anything to do with you. This is his own higher self providing the experience he needs to provide. And all of a sudden with that, I was like, oh my gosh. And I just sort of stepped back and went, I'm just here to be a conduit, to allow, not to do anything, but to allow his own journey to unfold in the way that he needs it to unfold in. And with that, I just completely let go of trying to fix the music. And lo and behold, within, 30 seconds, the music came back on and played the entire time. Afterwards, you know, we talked about it, and I told him I was panicking, and he said, oh, I was freaking out at first, and then I was getting really angry. And then I realized the voice in his head, the higher self in him, said, this is you. This is all you doing this. Like, this is showing you, do you want to create that, or do you want to create that? Do you want to calm down and understand that it's the anxiousness in you that's reflecting this? In other words, it was his own lesson to learn in that experience. Had I tried to control it, it would have taken away from what he was trying to learn. And so that experience after that was really profound for me, in seeing that, you know, that in and of itself, being a person that cares and wants to do good things for people, understandably so, also has a shadow side. And that shadow side can be actually trying to control people, even when their own higher selves are wanting to have them learn something or have them go through some sort of growth or transformation. And so again, this experience this morning for me was understanding that I had to let go of trying to make sure everybody's okay. All I can do is stay connected to my light, to my higher self, to my heart, because when I am there and when I live from there, of course, whatever I do is going to be in the highest resonance and the best possible outcome for everybody involved. No matter what the outcome is, that I am staying in that connected place. That's the most important thing I can do, and allow everybody else's experience to unfold in the way that it's supposed to. And all I can do is stay in a higher resonance and keep my heart open. That's literally all I can do. And from that place, then I can offer different tools or techniques or things that, as I'm doing right now, that may be helpful to you to spark some sort of remembrance in you. That's all I can do. That's all I can do. And I can only do it from that place of connection. I can only do it from that place of light. And so what I realized this morning is that, again, sometimes something appears on the surface to be something, and really what it's asking you is to go a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper, so that you can see the lesson way deep, the spiritual lesson way deep below the surface. And so that shadow can be brought to the light, and that shadow can be let go of. And that is the shadow of being a caretaker to everybody. The shadow side is thinking that you can control their experience. And that actually is only the ego. The ego is the only thing that seeks to control, because as your higher self, you do not want to impose your will on anybody. That in fact, you don't, as a sovereign being, you do not want to impose your will, because you understand the importance of your own personal freedom, of your own spiritual freedom, of your own soul's freedom. So you wouldn't want anyone to impose their will onto you. And sometimes that includes, even when you have the best of intentions and you're trying to create something good for somebody else, that you have to really watch that energy and make sure you're not doing it in the shadow of trying to control to ultimately make you feel better. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, if I could control the situation so that he would feel better, it was only so if he felt better, I would feel better. So ultimately, it does come back to the ego of trying to make yourself feel better in the guise of trying to control someone else's experiences and make it okay for them. That's not to say that again, it's not that I want to be a bad person or create bad things. It's not that at all. It's that I can only create my experience, and then from there offer more light to people. That's all we can ever do. And then it's up to them to decide if that's the moment that they are ready to work through their own shadows. That's for them to decide, not you. So it's a big awareness shift for me today, a big perspective shift in seeing that underlying shadow and really letting it go. And I can only let it go. I can only let that shadow go from a place of connection with my higher self. That is truly when the shadow comes to the light. That is the only place I'm okay in that space, is when I'm truly connected. Because if I'm connected spiritually, if I'm connected to my higher self, then I trust in all that unfolds. I'm coming from a place of trust, knowing whatever unfolds is for our highest purpose, and I can be okay in that. And the anxiousness just dissipates because I'm okay with all of it. So I share that to hopefully, like I said, maybe it resonates with some of you that are on the same radio station, the same frequency, and maybe experiencing the same thing right now, is how much deeper can you go below the surface? And also, how much are you trying to control people's experiences in the guise of trying to make sure that they're okay? Day 7, big day for me. Never a dull day. I don't think in the life of somebody who's on the spiritual path, I don't think there's ever a dull or boring day. Whether it be, just bliss and connection, or in the goo or in the dirt, in the shadows, working through it. But it's just certainly never a dull moment. So hopefully that helped you guys. End of day 7. I will see you first full week done. I'll see you tomorrow.